Let's talk some Ohio State recruiting as the Buckeyes are back in Columbus this weekend to face Iowa. It's the first real test of the season. Should be a good one, and recruits will be in town. I got Matt Parker from Letterman Row on to break this weekend down. But first, we got to do something. We got to hit subscribe to the On3 Recruit channel, the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. So jump on board, hit subscribe. All right, let's bring on Matt Parker from Letterman Row. So Matt, big visit weekend as Iowa comes to town. How does Ryan Day handle these big visit weekends? Is he hands-on, or on game day, does he kind of delegate that to the recruiting department and they lead the way?
I think it's a little bit of column A, column B. I mean, you see him during pregame. He'll interact with a lot of the commits, obviously, because their families are in town. They're going to be on campus in a few short months now. I mean, today's October 1st. Signing day is going to be here before we know it, and then they'll be on campus. And a lot of those big time guys, those big targets that are visiting, you'll see Day interact with those guys in the stadium. But it's all of the things he does away from the stadium, not during the game or things like that, because they have these guys go to the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, Ohio State's football facility. They'll try and sit in a meeting or two if they can, depending on when a prospect shows up. Anytime a kid that visits Ohio State that doesn't have an offer, and on Sundays, we see them post an offer. That offer comes after talking with Ryan Day in his office, usually, Sunday morning, early Sunday afternoon, before Ohio State gets into its film session of the game before, on Saturday. So he's certainly hands-on, but just in certain areas. And I think the big thing is this is the first big visit weekend at Ohio State this 2024 season.
Right.
And, Day has removed himself from calling plays. So one of the things Saturday that I'm really, really looking forward to watch, just how does he interact and how are things different for him during this big visit weekend? Because he obviously knows what's going on. He's the head ball coach at Ohio State. He knows who's going to be there and who isn't and stuff like that. But you have to give credit where credit's due. The job that Mark Pantoni does, Ohio State's general manager, he runs quite a show. So
a tight ship over there under Mark Pantoni.
Absolutely. But there are certainly moments throughout the weekend where Ryan Day is very, very involved.
All right. Well, let's get to the recruits. Who are the most important targets that'll be on campus this weekend?
There's a few of them, Josh, and I want to start off with, and I think we were going to talk about this guy a little bit later on, but I'm going to jump the gun a little bit here. And I want to talk about 2027 quarterback Brady Edmonds out of Huntington Beach, California. Josh, this guy is the real deal for Ohio State. I mean, we've seen so many RPMs are already placed in the system on a 2027, but I think we take away quarterback. We take quarterback a little bit differently when we're talking about recruits, just because we see that quarterback position commit so early, so much earlier than in years past. And originally, a few months back, we were expecting Edmonds to visit for the Nebraska game on October 26th. That since changed within the last, 6-7 weeks or so. He's going to be on campus this weekend for the Iowa game. And then on Monday, I believe it was, On3's Chad Simmons reported that, Edmonds' timeline is moving, and it's moving up. He's not pushing any kind of decision back or anything like that. And for me, just sitting here, reading Chad's report, talking with people at Ohio State, things like that, it's really hard for me to not envision Brady Edmonds being committed to Ohio State by the end of this football season, maybe even by the end of this regular season, before November 30th. I think there are some conversations that still need to happen between Edmonds and his family, with Ohio State, maybe with some other places, but the hype and the juice behind, Edmonds to Ohio State is really, really, really starting to pick up. And I'm very intrigued to see how his visit in Columbus goes this weekend.
All right. Now, one name I did not see on the visit list is Naeem Offord, the corner from Alabama, who's been committed now for months, but not on the list. So when do we expect him back in Columbus?
And we expected him for this weekend, for the Iowa game, but it's just not working out. The next available opportunity is October 26th for that Nebraska game. And really and truly, it's just, will he show up? It is a point of, will he show up? There's not much to say other than that, quite honestly. I think if he doesn't show up for that Nebraska game, don't expect him on campus until for the, I guess the Michigan game when
Right.
push comes to shove. Because you think about the rest of that home slate after Nebraska, it's Purdue and Indiana, and then Michigan. And if you were committed to Ohio State and you were a big five-star plus prospect, which of those games would you want to go to, right? So if it's not going to be Nebraska, and we don't see him for Michigan, I think that's kind of telling. But there's a lot of time before any of those things happen. So again, we just stay and wait and see. I mean, that's what you and I have talked about over these last few months now with Naeem Offord, the five-star plus cornerback out of Parker High School. It's just wait and see, and we'll see what happens.
Follow the visits or the lack thereof. They both tell a story. All right. So when we talk about who could be Ohio State's next commitment, do you think it could be Brady Edmonds? I mean, I know he's in the 2027 cycle, but with 2025 kind of slowing down, you know how it gets towards the end, November, December, it heats back up. So could this 2027 prospect, Brady Edmonds, be the next big commitment for Ohio State?
It would not shock me whatsoever if Brady Edmonds was the next, just in general, Ohio State commitment. That 2026 cycle continues to just interest me. It's very interesting, Ohio State's approach to this 2026 cycle. There have been numerous in-state guys in that 2026 cycle that have visited. Guys like Elbert Hill, the number one cornerback in the country, plays in Akron out of Archbishop Hoban. You've had guys like Sam Greer from the same school as Elbert Hill. Max Riley is going to visit for the Nebraska game. Will Conroy is making a much overdue visit to Ohio State this weekend for the Iowa game. That's big time for the Buckeyes. Another guy like Jacob Weatherspoon, defensive back out of Avon up in Northeast Ohio. So there have been a lot of, these on 300 guys that are in the 2026 cycle that have visited already this season, but just aren't quite there yet. They aren't quite there yet. I think a guy like Brady Edmonds, it makes sense if he's ready, if he feels ready. Ohio State is ready to take that commitment. You look at that 2026 quarterback picture, which Ohio State is, still evaluating guys. I mean, just about every single guy that they've offered, I think there's 12 of them in the 2026 cycle. 11 of those 12 are committed elsewhere already. So you have Tavian St. Clair in 2025. 26 is a question mark. If you have the opportunity to jumpstart 27 by getting one of the best quarterbacks in that cycle already, I say go do it. And I think I wouldn't be shocked.
Brady Edmonds is already 6'5", 205 pounds as a 2027 prospect, number 2 rated quarterback, number 17 overall in that class. So that would be a major addition, even though it's a couple years out. But hey, like you said, that's just how it goes right now. And if you are a top QB and you might know where you want to go, you better get that spot filled because there's not a lot left. So we'll see what happens with Brady Edmonds. But yeah, going to be watching him. Do you have him on commit watch this weekend, or it could be down the road?
I would say down the road, Josh. This is his first visit to Ohio State since he camped in June. He's very impressive. We got eyes on him there. He was very impressive. And I think there might be some more game day visits down the line for him, this season to other places. I would encourage that if I was Ohio State, be like, hey, go check out places. Make sure that this is where you want to be if this is ultimately what you're thinking. But I wouldn't expect it this weekend. But certainly I would expect it before the end of this regular season.
All right, Buckeye fans, talk to us. How you feeling about this coming weekend? Iowa's coming in town. Give us your predictions. Comment section below.